Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Sal, it's All Hallows Eve, and this is another expedition log. Tonight, we're going to explore an underground space adorned with uncomfortably expansive liminal spaces, which lead to nearly abandoned shopping concourses at every end, including a romp through a sick Halloween store. As always, I hope you're all well out there, taking care of yourselves and fending off any stray ghosts, goblins, or ghouls that might be haunting your dwellings on this ghastly evening. The mall we're visiting in Crystal City, Arlington, Virginia, is tucked away under massive buildings, seemingly protected from the elements, but unable to escape the suffocating and recent embrace of Amazon.com. Also, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed to me, so if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing if you aren't yet, and click the bell icon to enable all notifications. So on this Halloween night, I'd like you all to come take a walk with me through the incredible maze of shops at Crystal City, once known as the Crystal Mall. But first, a word from our sponsor. A look behind the scenes of Ed Wood's campy B-movie classic, Bride of the Monster, with Bela Lugosi in the twilight of his career, awkwardly fighting a giant fake octopus by himself. Happy Halloween, everyone. Enjoy.
Why, Mr. Lugosi, you must lead such an exciting life. When is your next picture coming out?
I have no next picture.
You gotta be joking. A great star like you must have dozens of them lined up.
Back in the old days, yes. Now no one gives two f***s for a bail. All right, let's shoot this car.
Great.
Where do I go?
You'll be fighting with the octopus.
Out there?
Yes.
Oh, for Christ's sake. God damn, it's cold.
It'll warm up once you're in it.
You come out here. Hey, throw me that whiskey. How do you turn this on?
Well, somebody misplaced the octopus motor. So when you get in there and fight with him, shake his legs around. It looks like he's killing you. Okay. All right? All right. All right, let's put it on film. Camera?
We're rolling.
Sound?
And we don't have sound.
Oh. And action! And cut!
Lobo, take the girl to my quarters.
In the 1960s, Robert H. Smith began a project to develop land in Arlington, Virginia, just south of the Pentagon, and a stone's throw away from Washington, D.C. With his partner and brother-in-law, Robert Kogod, they began with 2 apartment buildings which were named Crystal House. Development would quickly escalate with their success, and Smith began building out the land. There was no planned community in the style of Jim Rouse, and they only had a name in mind: Crystal. Their Crystal City would be built out over the years, becoming a premier dwelling for people working in DC and the surrounding areas. Everything in the neighborhood adopted the Crystal naming scheme, from the Crystal Gateway, the Crystal Towers, and finally an underground shopping destination that began construction in the early 1970s, which would connect most parts of the neighborhood and allow residents and tourists to walk around throughout the area, protected from the elements. In September of 1976, Crystal City's Crystal Underground had a soft opening in an effort to immediately offer a convenient way for the people to traverse from one side of the neighborhood to the other. But the following year, the Underground Metro Rail was opened to the public, and on July 1st, 1977, the Crystal Mall had its grand opening and dedication. The Crystal Mall was billed as a turn-of-the-century shopping village, with inlaid cobblestone walkways resembling Victorian streets, antique leaded glass shop windows, and over 40 stores at grand opening. The mall was anchored by a 12,000 square foot Jellef's women's store, Larimer's Gourmet Grocery and Deli, and a drug fair. The mall also featured Antique Alley, which promoted local artisans who could peddle their wares on weary travelers. But that's at the other end of the neighborhood, where it gets creepy really quick, underground. And we'll be heading over there over the course of this episode, so stick with me as we spelunk through these awesome catacombs. The mall is designed in such a way that there's two main sections. Right now we're in the 2100 Crystal Drive portion, which is most certainly more decadent, with long-running skylights lighting the concourse, and multiple points of egress to the street and adjoining office or residential buildings. It just so happens that while I was living in DC, attending the University of Maryland in College Park, I would frequent this mall, along with Pentagon City and Landmark. One of my closest friends, who I actually went to elementary school with in New Jersey, wound up going to the same college as me in DC during my undergrad years, and we were roommates. After graduating, he lived in Crystal City for a bit, so whenever I would visit, I'd take a stroll through here. Even more coincidental, I learned during my research for this episode that Robert Smith, the guy who built this mall, donated over $100 million to the University of Maryland College Park, which he also attended, and $30 million of that money went towards the Clarice Smith Performing Arts Center in 2001, which was named after Robert's wife, Clarice Smith. And that Performing Arts Center is where I performed dozens of concerts getting my master's degree, along with my master's recital. It's such a small world when you really start digging for the facts. There was one Halloween in particular that I remember coming to Crystal City after a pretty rough patch in my life. I met my buddy at the Buffalo Wild Wings for some chicken, as I'm wont to do with my friends. This time though, it wasn't with Fritz, but I was meeting Dr. Angel M. Scroggins. That's not his real name, if you're wondering. He wanted to adopt that name after seeing a cardboard cutout in a 7-Eleven that had the legal age for smoking, and since it was a college town, there was a clearly fake license on the thing, with some dude sporting a fake mustache named Dr. Angel M. Scroggins. So I've been calling him that since like 2004. Anyway, I met Scroggs for chicken, and everyone was dressed up for Halloween except us. I was already bummed out when I got there, but between him doing stupid things to make me laugh and longboarding around Crystal City, it got better. So I crashed at his place, and the next day I strolled around the city and took a walk through the Crystal City Mall. It seemed to have a calming effect, and despite it being about 2,000% busier back then, my visit on that Halloween rests safely in my core as a super fond memory. Has there been a time for any of you out there where you were going through a rough patch in your life and you remember going to a mall, or even another place, whatever? Is there a time that you remember going to a place that sort of calmed you down and let you think clearly in that rough patch? Let me know down in the comments. I'd like to hear your stories. Because it's Halloween, and because I'm in an extra ghastly mood while producing this, I'd like to memorialize this episode, and to begin a new tradition on the ExLog by reciting one of my favorite poems of Edgar Allan Poe over the course of our walk through this place, if you'll indulge me. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. That it is and nothing more." As we walk through the cavernous liminal spaces towards the other half of this mall, you'll see traces of its past. I want you all to keep an eye out for one of the biggest traces, which I think is the barbershop that still has the original name up, called the Crystal Mall Barbershop. So keep an eye out for that coming up. But I can't help but think of the massive winding Amazon River and how the series of hallways in this underground might have been a prophetic sign of what would ultimately tower over them. And I'm sure a lot of you may have already seen the news on this place that Amazon has chosen Crystal City for its new HQ. But Amazon too had humble beginnings. In 1994, Jeff Bezos set out to create the world's largest bookstore. And he had settled on the name Cadabra, like saying abracadabra to cast a magic spell. I guess he wanted to be cute or something, I don't know. So his lawyer registered this name in Washington State in July of 1994, but he found that it tested inappropriately with people over the phone who all thought that he was saying cadaver. Bezos and his now ex-wife Mackenzie also workshopped and registered other domain names such as awake.com, browse.com, and bookmall.com. They still own these domains, and navigating to any one of these sites today will redirect you to amazon.com. Bezos scoured the A section of the dictionary after talking with his lawyer, and he was inspired by the word Amazon, which was a mighty river bringing the possibility of life to areas of the world that would otherwise have vanished. So he named it Amazon. We're getting a lot closer now to the other half of the mall, which has a much more metropolitan, industrial look. It's dirtier, it's grimier. And as you'll see, it's just a metro stop. And I think that is what dictates most of the aesthetic value on that side. It's darker, it's dingier, and frankly, it's just a grimy old metro stop. But it's awesome. As we walk over there, I'll recite more of the Raven. Presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is, I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, 'Lenore?' This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, 'Lenore,' merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard it tapping somewhat louder than before. 'Surely,' I said, 'surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more.'" Halloween has always been a special time for me, and finding this store was such a treat. Halloween, at least for me and my family, is always the time of the year where the holidays would start to kick off. The weather changes to a brisk, frigid cool, the leaves undergo their ritual dance of color and fall to the street, and after the macabre of All Hallows Eve gives way to the holiday ads running at the start of November, the air has a tinge of promise about it. And it's almost as if seeing family and then celebrating the new year gives us all a fresh slate to do better than we did the previous year. But this is 2020, and frankly, I wouldn't be surprised at anything that happened before January 1st. So let's just take a moment to slow down and embrace the beautifully twisted and delightfully wretched ethos of Halloween. Because once a year, we're all allowed to get spooky. Halloween rocks, and just like I would hear The Night Before Christmas every year as a child growing up, my mom would read me The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, after watching reruns of The Addams Family and trick-or-treating while dressed up in an awesome costume. It was also fun to watch the dads around the neighborhood still cleaning up all the toilet paper and eggs from Mischief Night, which always happened the night before Halloween. Later in life, and even recently, as you can see on my Instagram and Twitter feeds at Salvatore Amadeo, this changed to me still dressing up in a costume,
Oh God.
but sitting on the stoop handing out candy to kids, with audio recordings of the Raven still playing for everyone to hear. It's my absolute favorite poem.
God, these are so creepy. I mean, I was a kid and I wore costumes, but seeing it through the eyes of an adult, yo. I gotta buy something. Maybe some Harry Potter thing. This hat with 2 balls on it. What? Oh. Man.
I think these Halloween shops are great. And frankly, they're all pretty much the same. This place is called Total Fright, and you'll see a lot of Spirit Halloween shops that pop up in old abandoned retail stores. As a matter of fact, on my second channel, I'm gonna put up a video of a Spirit Halloween opened at a Best Buy that I used to work at. They've since turned it into a Sky Zone trampoline park. But honestly, if you've seen one of these Halloween shops, you've seen them all. But they are very cool. And I take every opportunity to try and get into them each year to get something new, to buy a new decoration for the house or something. They are rad. But they're all the same. When I was a kid, I remember going to pick out my Halloween costumes, and one of the things that always stayed with me is how busy the Halloween stores were. You had to hope that your costume would be in stock. I'm sure it's due to COVID, but the emptiness of this place really struck me. In those back rooms that had the spooky stuff that wasn't safe for kids, I always wondered what was back there. Now I know. And you do too. If you're a kid out there watching this video, and you were wondering what's in these back rooms, you're welcome. Open here, I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mine of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched above a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more.
Whoa. I'm buying that. That's awesome.
Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled, this ungainly fowl, to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast above the sculpted bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore.
Thank you. Great, thank you.
But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow, he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Around the turn of the millennium, Amazon.com was making stringent efforts to expand their business, and at the time they were being bolstered by the rapid explosion of the internet. While online businesses like Amazon were focusing their efforts on gaining college students as their major source of revenue, Facebook came about to help the cause. I remember when I was in my freshman year, while living in DC, right about when Facebook debuted. I remember you were required to provide a valid EDU email address in order to register, and if you wanted to save some cash, you could try finding books on Amazon instead of paying the insane cost that on-campus bookstores pushed. It was almost as if Amazon and Facebook worked together in this super slow burn long distance play where they courted a generation of students into their arms, conditioning us into living lives where we would learn to make our purchases online and to create a space on the internet where our identities would live. The brilliant marketing directed towards students helped the two companies enter the mainstream, and after just a few years in the early 2000s, Amazon was selling electronics and video games and housewares and most essentials that you need. It was also around this time that Facebook would expand to users without requiring school affiliations, lighting the internet ablaze with personal connections and ways to connect with people from afar with ease. While the internet was spreading across the world like wildfire, malls across the US were failing after mid-century loans were maturing and owners were unable to pay anything but interest payments. Through the 80s and 90s, malls had everything the younger generations wanted and everything the graying population needed. But as they traversed the new millennium and products became more specialized and advanced, shoppers sought other outlets that could deliver these custom things like computers with specific parts or video game systems that weren't in stock at local electronic stores in suburban malls. These mall owners failed to adapt to consumers' new lust after specialized goods, and many suburban malls would slowly start to die, becoming the gray ghosts we've come to know them as. Amazon and the like simply took advantage of this hole in the market, and they grew their business to gain a monopoly, as many other online retailers would do following their same formula. Crystal City was always a reliable economic engine for Arlington, and this was directly fueled by government contractors and the Department of Defense filling millions of square feet of office space in the neighborhood.
No kidding.
Reagan National Airport is on one side of the neighborhood, and the Pentagon is on the other. The entire area flourishing because of this steady and stable business, and it was at its peak for economic potential in the early 2000s. On June 26, 2004, changes were made to the Crystal City infrastructure. Several roads were turned into two-way streets to accommodate heavier traffic, and the landmarks throughout the neighborhood mostly lost the Crystal moniker, with planners choosing to opt into changing the street names and addresses for most buildings. This change included the Crystal Mall, which took on the new name Shops at Crystal City for both main underground sections. Just 1 year after this drastic and seemingly unnecessary change to Crystal City, the neighborhood would suffer an incredible blow to their once bulletproof economic platform with the Base Realignment and Closure Act, or BRAC, which was the last wave in a series of 4 initiatives to end Cold War alignment, and saw the closure of numerous military installations. The BRAC Commission brought the loss of over 14,000 jobs in Crystal City, rendering over 4.2 million square feet of office spaces immediately vacant. As a result, local retail was decimated, with the greater economic foundation of Crystal City nearly collapsing. In the aftermath of the BRAC Commission, the Crystal City Business Improvement District was formed in an attempt to inject life into the neighborhood. But with the 2007-2008 recession came more loss of business, further exacerbating the decline of Crystal City. By late 2008, on the other side of the recession, Vornado/Charles E. Smith had become the successor to the Smith family and came in with a plan to revitalize the area. Over the next few years, new businesses would open in the neighborhood, with multiple new restaurants and tech startups flocking to the region. By 2014, the neighborhood was touted as a nascent tech hub, and by 2016, the New York Times did a piece writing that Crystal City was rebooting itself, with companies such as WeWork, 1776, and TechShop moving in. With the population of young professionals growing exponentially, Vornado President Mitchell Shear boasted of the ever-positive success, comparing Crystal City to Brooklyn, New York.
Would you really expect a men's room buried that deep in a mall like this to be open? Nobody's peeing in this place. It's as good as dead. And as a matter of fact, I think once Amazon really puts their hold on this area, they might just destroy the whole place. But who knows? Haven't done my research yet.
After nearly 1 decade of augmented stagnation, Crystal City was emerging as a thriving bubble of tech entrepreneurs. Then, on September 7th, 2017, Jeff Bezos announced that Amazon would be searching for a new home for their headquarters.
That is beyond sketchy. Sketchiest one yet. That's the sketchiest one yet if it was open, but there's no way that place is ever going to be open again.
The next 14 months were a scrambled mess of over 230 cities applying and begging for Amazon to choose them as their new home. It was also during this time that Vornado Charles E. Smith merged with Washington, D.C. development firm JBG in an $8.4 billion deal. The new firm, JBG Smith, quickly sat down with Amazon to pitch why their city was perfect for the new HQ. All over the country, politicians and developers were fighting like crazy to get their cities picked, with rampant lobbying and incessant schmoozing between developers. By January 2018, Amazon had gotten their list down to 20 cities. And just over 10 months later, on November 13th, 2018, Amazon announced that it would be selecting both Long Island City in Queens, New York, and Crystal City in Arlington, Virginia, as a split headquarters. Incredible tension among lawmakers grew when multiple officials denounced the project due to the tax breaks Amazon would be offered, which would directly siphon from funds meant to support critical infrastructure such as the deteriorating New York City subway, public schools, and healthcare. So on February 14th, 2019, Amazon canceled the New York location and instead decided to focus their entire headquarters effort on the Crystal City neighborhood. Amazon also decided to expand the HQ in Virginia, which would now encompass the Crystal City and Pentagon City neighborhoods in Arlington, along with the Potomac Yard neighborhood in nearby Alexandria. This joint area would be renamed the National Landing and would be the new home of Amazon. While the two buildings were renovated for temporary workspace for Amazon employees, the entire main area is currently still under development and will be under construction for some time.
That's not creepy. It's the one time on the ExLog that you'll not see me use this elevator. It's just sitting there with the letter C. There's no way I'm getting in there. Even I have limits.
Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken. "Doubtless," said I. "What it utters is its only stock in store, caught from some unhappy master whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling. Straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of the bird, and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloated o'er, she shall press. Ah, nevermore. I've mentioned the word liminal space multiple times in this episode, and if you still don't know what that is, let me try to put it into words for you. Liminal spaces are expanses that are meant to be crossed as a point of egress from one place that you feel comfortable to an unknown point of ingress, while the thought of traversing that expanse gives you an incredibly uncomfortable feeling. The word liminal comes from the Latin limen, which simply means threshold. So if you ever see this term again, or you see one of those creepy pictures online of a big office called liminal space, just think about the endless hallways here at the Crystal City Underground. Walking around inside this place just gives me chills. As you're all aware, I'm no stranger to walking around inside mall guts and getting lost or possibly stranded inside fire exits. I can equate the feeling to megalophobia, or seeing an overly massive structure inside and feeling like the structure was just too large to traverse, feeling overwhelmed by its size. The same feeling applied to me here, but instead of a vertical sensation, the deeper I went, the more I thought I wouldn't reach an end, and that at some point a door might lock behind me. It's probably irrational. And like any other time I'm caught in a tight spot, just taking a deep breath and thinking about it is enough to work things out. But this place felt like I was in a Stanley Kubrick movie. It felt like I was aimlessly wandering through the snowy maze at the Overlook Hotel, escaping the crazed axe-wielding Jack Nicholson in The Shining, or being quietly tormented by HAL 9000 in the stark whiteness aboard the Discovery 1 spaceship from 2001, A Space Odyssey. I've been to many locations at this point in my series, but rekindling my relationship with Crystal City for Halloween this year felt like Providence, and I'm happy to finally show this place to you all. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if, whether the distant Aidenn, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
No, I'm not touching it. There's no way. That's gross.
Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul, from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. I'd like to thank all of you for spending your Halloween with me if you caught the premiere, and for taking time out of your day to walk with me through such a seriously cool subterranean mall. While my hopes are high for this place to stick around as long as the buildings above them remain, the interior spaces are at risk of being closed off as more tenants leave. It's reasons like this that I produce my series. It's to preserve the memory of at-risk locations for future generations. I'd like to thank my elite explorers on Patreon, those who send in super chats and any other form of direct support. Every penny goes towards expeditions, and as a matter of fact, I just got back from New Orleans, where I had to take an emergency road trip, and I was able to make the best of it and film some truly amazing places, while still conducting family business. Thanks also to the Dead Malls of Discord family, where our ever-growing community of diverse members keeps the conversation around dead malls, retail, and literally everything else fresh on the server nearly 24/7. If you'd like to join the Dead Malls of Discord server, just download Discord on your phone, your tablet, or whatever by going to discord.com, or your app store, and go to any one of my YouTube video descriptions and click on the link next to the word Discord. It's entirely free to download and join, and there's no gotchas or loopholes. I look forward to chatting with all of you there, and having some time to do voice chats with everybody. Also, if you're still with me at this point, please consider subscribing, because most of my views come from people that aren't subscribed to me. And honestly, if you made it this far in the video, you're probably into the Expedition Log series, so you may as well just subscribe and ring the bell so you know when I put out new content.
Oops.
The ExLog holidays are coming with some awesome content, so please make sure to follow me on my social media on Twitter and Instagram at Salvatore Amadeo, and stay tuned for ExLog 76 in a week or two. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Take care of yourselves, have a wonderfully wretched rest of your Halloween, stay safe out there, and have a fantastic day.